To keep his rotting skin from falling off, the man wrapped his body in plastic wrap. He took out an expired bottle of foundation and applied it to his face. After carefully blending it all over with a brush, the priest put on his hat and sprayed himself a few times with cologne from 82. But when he finished his makeup and stepped out of the bathroom, bread maggots were scattered all over the floor. At the same time, the passengers in the plane cabin also smelled a strong, foul odor. His teammate secretly took the scarf of the man next to him. He tried to conceal his decaying body this way, but maggots kept falling out of his pant legs. The reason they turned into these zombie-like beings, not quite human and not quite ghosts, is entirely because of this mysterious silver coin. According to ancient legend, Judas betrayed Jesus for a reward of 30 silver coins from the Romans. But upon seeing the Lord suffering, he was filled with immense regret. Not long after, he threw away the coins and ended his own life, and those 30 cursed coins were scattered throughout the world. It's said that only by collecting all of them can one obtain immense power. On the very day the coin was stolen, a cow in town was about to give birth. The veterinarian, Elena, rushed over in the rain. But when the delivery was over, everyone was stunned because the cow gave birth to a human baby. The mayor, hearing about this, arrived at the scene immediately. To avoid causing panic, he ordered everyone to keep it a secret. Because it was all so shocking, he took the baby to see the priest. But when he heard about the cow giving birth to a human, the priest's expression changed drastically. This was absurd. Later, after reviewing a video taken at the scene, they discovered there was a period when no one was looking at the cow. The priest said it was very possible that during that time, someone swapped the calf for a human baby. Elena was speechless. However, that very night, the emergency alarm, which was only supposed to be used in extreme situations, suddenly sounded. The villagers quickly gathered in large numbers. A drifter had snuck the baby up onto the roof. He kept muttering in some strange language, seemingly telling them that this was Satan's child. Just then, the priest and everyone else reached the rooftop. The drifter said they needed to deal with this baby ASAP because it would only bring disaster to the town. After Elena pleaded with him at length, the drifter finally put the baby down. But to prove he wasn't lying, he turned and jumped from the high building. Elena managed to save the baby. She realized that someone had to look after the suddenly appeared child. So, she gave the baby boy to a kind old woman. Little did she know that her good deed today would cast a giant dark shadow over the town. Afterward, she found a silver coin among the beggar's belongings, but she didn't think much of it. The next day, Elena went to check on the cow. She found it was just a little weak, nothing serious. The old woman was very grateful to Elena because she not only saved the cow, but also found her a grandson. Elena asked how the baby was doing. Carmen said he was very healthy and ate a lot, and there was no need to worry about him being a picky eater. She even invited Elena inside, and Elena accepted without hesitation. But when she got to the house, the old woman's husband told her some things that no one else knew. It turned out that the couple once had a son, but he drowned in the pool. Since then, his wife's personality had completely changed, and it was only after this baby appeared that she gradually started to recover. Elena thought this was a good thing, but the old man shook his head and told her to brace herself. Afterward, Elena followed him up to the attic. She was shocked and speechless when she saw the baby boy. The infant, only a few days old, was already as tall as an adult. There was something wrong, but the old woman was very pleased with this enormous child. After Elena left, the husband looked at the giant newborn in front of him. He advised his wife that they should get rid of it because the baby's growth rate was terrifying him more and more. But she said it was just growing well. However, the husband insisted on getting rid of the baby. Left with no choice, Carmen brutally attacked, killing the old man on the spot after stabbing him 81 times out of 99 attempts. An idea suddenly struck her as she saw her husband lying on the ground. High-quality ingredients often only need simple cooking. Carmen mixed the organs with milk, making a delicious meal for the baby. At the same time, Elena left to find the mayor. She told him everything she had seen at the old woman's house. She said the baby was very strange, but Paco thought she was exaggerating. Then, the two of them drove to the old woman's house. They got closer and saw that the inside was covered with cobwebs. Carmen's husband was wrapped up inside. Finally, Paco believed Elena. He knocked on the door and slowly went upstairs. The old woman suddenly appeared. "Are you two trying to take him away from me too?" Paco quickly explained. "No, we don't want to." Seeing this, the old woman continued. "That baby is mine. No one can take him away." After saying that, she grabbed a pair of scissors, stabbing wildly and kicking them away. The two were knocked down, dazed, but she had no intention of letting them go. Paco, who was injured, was unfortunately caught by the old woman. Knowing she was no match for her, Elena could only run for her life outside. She saw Carmen close the door and give her a sinister smile. Elena rushed to drive back and find help. Meanwhile, the old woman hung Paco up and said, "You all will be delicious meals for my son." Carmen even showed him the toys she had prepared for her son. The son upstairs also screamed in response each time she spun a toy. Elena brought the police back. The scene before them made their hair stand on end. Carmen told them to leave quickly and not to disturb her son's sleep. At this moment, a police officer tried to sneak up from behind but was slapped several feet away by her. However, as soon as she turned her head, she transformed into a different person, as if she had known the priest for a long time. She said, "Just hand over the coin and I'll let you go." After saying that, Carmen suddenly attacked. Vergara was caught off guard, and the two quickly fought each other. It was clear that the old woman was possessed by something. The police had never seen such. A bizarre thing, they fired several shots at Carmen, killing her instantly. Elena hurried upstairs to find the baby, but besides the thick cobwebs, there was no sign of the child. The ambulance quickly arrived at the scene and took Paco and the old woman inside. But on the way to the hospital, Carmen, who had died, suddenly came back to life. She was seen taking out the toy and constantly muttering. At this moment, a giant spider suddenly appeared on the road. The driver couldn't avoid it in time and rolled down into a ditch. Next, the huge spider smashed the car door with its two legs. Then, Carmen said, "My son has come to pick me up," and ran away. Meanwhile, Vergara took Elena back to the church and opened a secret tunnel. Inside were all kinds of weapons. While Elena was bewildered, she saw Vergara take down a weapon and unload the bullets. At this moment, a window suddenly broke outside. It seems the enemy has reached their doorstep. Vergara goes outside to check the situation, unexpectedly encountering the revived Carmen. She demands that he hand over the coin, or she will unleash a massacre. As she speaks, Carmen slaps Vergara, sending him flying. Elena, just out of the tunnel and about to help, is knocked to the ground by Carmen's swing. Seeing her approaching, Elena hurries to hide in a closet. Carmen tells her to persuade the priest to hand over the coin, or else disaster will keep striking. She unconsciously took the coin out of her pocket. Could it be this? In the hands of someone as lowly as her, the old woman smashed the cabinet door with one hand and grabbed her tightly. In this critical moment, Vergara suddenly burst with strength, knocked the old woman down, and then put all the bullets into holy water to cleanse them, because this was the only way to injure her. At this moment, Carmen took out a toy, but Vergara showed no mercy. He stepped forward to check, and after confirming there was no problem, he picked up the old woman and left. However, misfortunes often come in pairs. Just as Elena was about to leave, Carmen's child blocked her way. A giant human-faced spider slowly approached her. In a desperate moment, Elena picked up the toy Carmen had dropped and tore it apart. The monster, unable to bear this damage, fled. Only then did she narrowly escape this ordeal. A while later, Vergara slowly returned, but it was clear that Elena was a bit shaken. Everything that had just happened was beyond her comprehension. Vergara asked her for the coin, but Elena refused. She said she wanted to investigate this matter thoroughly to find out what on earth was causing all the trouble. However, she didn't know that this very coin had brought her countless troubles. Look, the mirror in front of her had an independent space within it. There was a book in the mirror, but when Elena turned her head, the real world was empty. At this point, everything they saw was probably an illusion. Elena suddenly had an idea. She switched her phone to camera mode, zoomed in, and saw a line of text on the book. The two immediately searched online based on the text. It was a book called The Gospel of Judas, which recorded the grievances between Jesus and Judas. They came to find the town's only priest to answer the questions in their hearts. Vergara immediately noticed something strange about the mirror, as if there was an independent space inside. He stepped forward and observed for half a day, but still couldn't understand the principle behind it. At this moment, the mayor went to another corner. They saw that the door in the mirror was open, but in reality, the door was still closed. Vergara quickly rushed over, opening and closing the door several times, but the scene in the mirror was different. It remained open. As he was thinking, a dark shadow suddenly entered the room. Did you see that? Someone just walked by. I saw someone at the door. Everyone immediately went into the room, but there was still no one there. Vergara decided to spend the night here alone to unravel this mystery. He wanted to see what was so strange about this mirror. Paco took Elena and left. After going outside, he turned on a camera. It turned out he suspected the priest was connected to the recent strange happenings, so he secretly installed a camera to test Vergara. Vergara, completely unaware, was still lost in thought, losing his hair over it, no matter how he looked at it. It seemed like an ordinary mirror, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. However, in the early hours of the morning, while everyone was fast asleep, the Vergara in the mirror suddenly raised his head, then slowly stood up and walked towards the edge of the mirror. The real-world Vergara noticed nothing. The fake Vergara didn't act rashly either. He just coldly stared at him. Early the next morning, Paco and Elena returned to the room. Vergara was sleeping soundly, completely unaware of what happened last night. As far as he could see, there was nothing special about this mirror. But when Paco showed the surveillance video, Vergara was so scared that he got goosebumps. His reflection had gotten up and walked toward the room where people were. This scene terrified even Vergara, who had been through countless ordeals. He angrily grabbed a hammer, ready to smash the mirror to pieces, to make it disappear into nothing. But a second later, someone who looked exactly like him appeared inside. "I want to talk to you alone. Tell them to leave." The other two, understanding, left the room. Vergara wanted to see what tricks this mirror could pull. He raised the hammer to strike, but the fake Vergara in the mirror suddenly asked if he wanted to see that child again. When Vergara heard this, he immediately stopped. Then, the other person pushed someone forward. It was a boy he had accidentally killed years ago. Seeing the boy's current appearance, Vergara, filled with remorse, wanted to beg for his forgiveness. But a second later, the boy suddenly sprang up and, passing through the mirror, tightly embraced him, pulling Vergara into the mirror world. When Paco and Elena returned, the broken mirror was whole again. Afterward, he led the two back to the church and told a story unknown to the world. It turns out that in Rome, there's a church passed down from ancient times. Their source of power is everything that could destroy Jesus, such as evil objects like the nails from the cross. And those 30 coins are holy relics of their church. If you gather all the coins, you'll have unparalleled power. At this point, Vergara suddenly switched gears. "You have one of those coins. You can't let them get their hands on it. Only I can protect it. I understand them. I know their weaknesses. They're incredibly arrogant." Faced with this pressure from Vergara, Elena felt something was off. The Vergara in front of her seemed to have become a completely different person. She made an excuse to go get the coin, but Vergara secretly followed her. When Elena was about to hand over the coin, she happened to notice that Vergara's watch was running backward. She realized then that the person in front of her wasn't the priest she knew. Elena shoved the fake Vergara away and ran into the house, locking the door behind her. Once she was sure the other person had left, Paco and Elena went to the mirror again. If the person earlier was a fake Vergara, then the real priest must be trapped in the mirror. Elena suddenly had an idea. She reached out and touched a book that didn't exist in the mirror's reflection. She held the book up to the mirror, shaking it up and down to confirm she wasn't hallucinating, then threw it at the mirror. When the mirror shattered, a separate space suddenly appeared behind it. The two carefully stepped through the mirror into another dimension, a place that was identical to the real world. Pushing open the door, they stepped into a magnificent and grand hall. Strangely, each mirror here is connected to different places around the world, and the place they had just entered was only one of many mirrors. The two even saw the pyramids here. As they continued forward, shadows seemed to flicker in the hall, getting closer. They saw inside there were many people in red robes sitting together. Only one person was very different, with their head covered by a sack. A man wearing glasses, who seemed to be the leader, held a dagger and kissed it deeply. Then he passed it to the person in red below him, and each person solemnly passed it on, as if they were performing some kind of ritual. After that, the man in white yanked the sack off, revealing the missing priest. The man with the glasses told him to hand over the coin, but the priest would rather die than give in. He knew exactly what kind of disaster collecting all the coins would bring. With his life in danger, Elena smashed the coin against the mirror, immediately drawing everyone's attention. The priest seized the chance to fight back. As the mayor helped the priest up, they discovered the tunnel behind the mirror had turned into a wall. They knew they shouldn't stay long and hastily took a chance by going back the way they came, just managing to exit the world within the mirror. Turning back to look, the place had indeed become a wall. The immediate danger had passed, and when the real priest returned to the real world, the fake priest vanished. It was then that Elena finally understood that the evil brought about by this coin was not something she could fight against. To end it all for good, she went to the bridge and threw the coin into the sea, thinking it would be the perfect conclusion to everything. But little did she know that this coin would eventually find its way back to her, and the real trouble was only just beginning from this very moment. This old woman knew an ancient, long-lost resurrection technique. She placed the purse inside a scarecrow for 49 days. Then, she took out a picture of the person and observed it closely, evenly spreading alcohol at the foot of the scarecrow, and finally sat quietly in a chair, beginning to cast her spell. In an instant, a mysterious power invaded the scarecrow's entire body and flesh. Suddenly grew on its dry, yellow frame. Early the next morning, a strange person appeared in town. This person was wearing tattered, dirty clothes covered in mud, causing the villagers to stop and stare. He was the scarecrow that the old woman had revived. He walked straight into Elena's house, after taking a bath, revealing his original appearance. It turned out he was Elena's husband, who had been missing for 2 years. Elena received the news and immediately went to the police station. After 2 years apart, he had lost a lot of weight, but regardless, it was good that he returned alive. Afterward, the two embraced and went home. Reunited after a long separation, it felt like they were newlyweds. Little did they know, the old woman was watching their every move. So, why on earth did she bring the man back to life? Soon, the news of Elena's husband's return spread throughout the town. A man with a thick beard came looking, but when he saw the husband, he was so terrified he fell to the ground as if he had seen something horrifying. That night, a bearded man broke into Elena's house with a shotgun. He fired a shot at the bed, but surprisingly, there was no one there. The police quickly received a report and arrived at the scene. The bearded man was shot down before he could react, and the mayor also arrived in time. But the bearded man claimed that Elena's husband was not human. It turned out that 2 years ago, they had an argument and he accidentally killed Elena's husband. He even dug the grave himself. There was something strange about the man who had returned. Meanwhile, Elena and her husband suddenly went on a trip, and along the way, the two were laughing and having a great time. Elena was still lost in a blissful illusion, but a single sentence from her husband snapped her back to reality. "Where is that coin? I'm asking you again, where did you put that coin?" Her husband's sudden aggression terrified Elena. "The reservoir. I threw it into the reservoir," she blurted out. As soon as the words left her mouth, she grabbed the steering wheel, and the car immediately spun out of control, flipping over the bridge. The man woke up and went to a gas station, stuffing the unconscious Elena into a car. The gas station attendant, bewildered, warned him, "Hey, that's my car." But the next second before leaving, he filled the other man's stomach with fuel, and only then did he leave satisfied. Afterward, the scarecrow drove to the reservoir and dragged Elena to the edge of the bridge. "Is it here? Answer me." Elena, panicked, said the coin was at the bottom of the river. "If we can't find the coin, it will come back for you. It will return to you in many ways, maybe much later." "I don't have much time. You must find it with me now," he said, then pulled Elena over the railing. In the nick of time, the mayor and others arrived. After a fierce struggle, the man fell into the lake and turned into straw. Luckily, they were tracking the security cameras and managed to catch up and save Elena. If they hadn't, The consequences would have been unimaginable. At the same time, the old woman burned the man's photo, seemingly still plotting something. The next day, following the location described by the bearded man, they dug up Elena's husband's body. After burying her husband, Elena decided to go to Paris to clear her head, and because of this very action, the coin she had thrown away also ended up in Paris. In a fancy French restaurant, a chef was expertly slicing up some Fukushima salmon, but as he was preparing it right there, he happened to pull out a coin from the fish's belly. He was about to toss it, but a man raised his hand to stop him. The guy naively thought the coin was meant for him. The next day, on a date with his girlfriend, he gave her a very meaningful coin. Elena excitedly opened the box, but what was inside scared her out of her mind. Wasn't this the cursed coin she had thrown away? Remembering what the scarecrow had said, that the coin would find its way back to her one way or another, she quickly excused herself to go to the restroom to calm down. Meanwhile, a mysterious old man wearing a necklace entered the restaurant and shot the boyfriend, killing him instantly. Elena came outside just in time to see this. The old man was searching the boyfriend's body, seemingly looking for something. When he saw a box on the ground, he quickly stood up to take it. Just then, a security guard appeared. The old man was hit by multiple shots but was unharmed. He furiously vented his anger on the guard. In the chaos, the guard accidentally ripped the necklace off the old man's neck. The old man immediately collapsed. Elena rushed to check on her boyfriend, but it was too late. When the police arrived, she suddenly remembered the coin. The box was empty. Lifting her foot, she saw the coin had somehow ended up beneath it. It seemed everything was fate. At this point, Elena realized that if she couldn't run, she might as well face it bravely. However, when she resolutely returned to the town, the place had completely changed. The whole town was surrounded by a strange, misty barrier. This barrier only lets people in, not out. What on earth was going on? It turned out that after she left town, a man in a suit suddenly arrived. He sought out the old woman who resurrected the scarecrow and personally handed her a package. After the man in the suit left, the old woman secretly poured the contents of the package into the town's wells. She seemed to have some evil scheme up her sleeve. That night, thick smoke rose from all the wells. The villagers didn't know what was happening. As time went on, the whole town was covered by a thin layer of fog. A patrolling police car tried to go out and check the situation, but strangely, it crashed in the thin air at the town's entrance. They realized the town must have been surrounded by the strange fog. Soon, Elena returned to town. It seemed she guessed this was related to the coin, so she didn't hesitate to step into the dense fog. In an instant, the man in the suit sensed the coin's presence. That's right, she's arrived. It seemed they had everything prepared, determined to reclaim the coin here. At the same time, the priest, who hadn't been seen for a long time, finally showed up. Sensing that the town had been infiltrated by an evil force, he took out weapons and ammunition, all of which had been baptized with holy water. He then joined forces with the mayor and Elena, adding strength to the side of good. The group, armed with weapons that had been baptized, arrived at the town center. "Come out! We know you're here," the crazed priest yelled. But the next scene filled them with absolute terror. A gigantic monster suddenly burst up from the ground, sending shivers down everyone's spines. The monster's mere presence overwhelmed them 10,000 times over. The priest aimed at the monster with his submachine gun and emptied the magazine. Even though the bullets were soaked in holy water, they caused no harm to this enormous creature. With just a wave of its hand, the monster knocked the priest unconscious. The two immediately carried the priest back to the bunker, narrowly escaping with their lives. The monster, having lost its target, hid its massive form underground, and the fog also miraculously disappeared. On this side, although the group had luckily survived, the all-important coin had been lost in the battle. As expected, the evil forces had now collected all 30 coins. The townspeople had also been completely brainwashed, just waiting for the bishop to arrive and take charge. To stop their evil plan, the priest poured the last of the holy blood on earth onto the ground, then used his finger to smear it on his eyelids and the back of his neck. He gave the rest to a dove, put it to his lips, whispered an incantation, and then went to the window and released it. The priest was blindfolded, and Elena and another guy used ropes to suspend him in the air. This was an ancient, long-lost technique of remote viewing. At this moment, the dove, influenced by the priest, freely soared through the air above the town. The scene outside was directly transmitted into the priest's mind. After a series of intense maneuvers, they finally managed to plant an eye where the heretics were preparing for their ritual. After that, the team took out a map and started to plan their operation. Early the next morning, the heretics began preparing the tools for the ritual. Not long after, the bishop's luxurious motorcade began to enter. Among the many Mercedes cars, there were also a few other vehicles mixed in. The bishop, accompanied by a group of people in white, appeared in the town. His subordinates, who had been waiting for a long time, presented him with a crown embedded with 29 coins and the holy relic of the sect, the Spear of Longinus. They were just waiting for the bishop to perform the ritual, and then they would stand on top of the world. Just then, the priest, using a secret tunnel marked on the map, appeared at the ritual site, but was quickly taken down by the man in the suit who had been lying in wait. At this moment, the bishop attached the final coin to the crown, officially completing the set of 30 silver coins. The bishop put on the crown and went up to the rooftop. The ritual officially began. He proclaimed to the followers that their time was coming. A new world order is about to be born, and I will lead you. Before the words were finished, the priest woke up and immediately rushed to the rooftop. The scattered silver coins instantly drove everyone into a mad scramble, with no one caring about the Pope's life or death. They only wanted to get their hands on the silver coins to obtain the power within. In no time, the priest had taken the silver coins and left, and one of the coins fell into the hands of the mayor's wife. She followed a priest and left the town. Seeing the two corpses lying on the ground, the demon's heart was also in turmoil. After all the years of effort to collect the silver coins, unexpectedly, in just a few seconds, everything was back to square one. Realizing the plan had failed, the demon had no choice but to change its form and flee the scene. Through the mirror, it arrived in the heart of New York City. Next, it would build its church here. The old woman dragged the two corpses back to her room and then cut a piece of skin from her own body. She used a fountain pen to write an incantation on the piece of skin, opened the mouths of the corpses, and stuffed it inside. After that, she took out a large number of mealworms. After burying the body, the old woman let out a subtle smile. No one knows how long it was before the dead priest woke up in the coffin. But now, he found himself in a dark room, surrounded by mysterious people cloaked in black. The priest, utterly bewildered, stepped out of the room. Only when he saw the scene outside did he realize he was in hell. Just as the priest was looking around, two grotesque monsters suddenly appeared and took him to a palace. It was filled with demon gods from the depths of hell. Each face stared coldly at the priest. All of them were devils from myths. The priest tried to suppress the fear in his heart as he walked through the corridor. As he reached the depths of the palace, he saw a man in a suit with horns on his head. "My dear priest, I don't know how to get out of here, but I will get out. You're still as stubborn as ever. I like that a lot." When the horned, suited man revealed his face, the priest discovered it was the Demon King himself, the one who had helped the Pope. The Demon King had now become the big boss here, and he had summoned the priest this time because he wanted to team up. Turns out, the Demon King always backed both good and evil as needed, but now he's facing a whole new threat. This guy doesn't want power. He wants nothingness, and that's the scariest thing in the world. If he succeeds, both the human world and hell will be destroyed, so the Demon King wants the priest to help stop it all. Meanwhile, in the deepest prison of hell, spirits are locked in cages, awaiting punishment. Elena's soul is also trapped here. Ferocious-looking monsters continuously lash the cages with iron chains. The sparks from the impacts terrify the souls inside. Just then, another monster arrives. Just as it's about to punish the soul inside, the priest arrives in the nick of time and knocks it to the ground. He quickly turns to Elena in the cage and says, "I'll find a way to get you out of here. At that time, you'll have something very important in your hands. You must protect it with your life." No sooner had he finished speaking than monsters surrounded the priest again. "Come and get me, you bastards!" The priest runs upstairs and then yells at Elena, telling her to find a book and warning her not to look at its contents. "Go find someone named Lombardi. He'll know what to do." With that done, the priest pulls open the iron cage door. Elena seizes a chance and escapes, but the monsters are hot on her tail. In a panic, Elena runs onto a balcony, but outside, there's a volcano spewing lava. With no other choice, she runs along the balcony to another room. Now, the souls here are being punished. They have to fill a basin with their blood. Elena, having just entered, spills someone's blood, instantly angering all the souls. They turn and surround Elena. "Stay and play with us. Don't leave us." Soon, the monster from behind catches up. Elena's resistance doesn't harm it at all. The monster simply tosses her against a wall, leaving Elena completely defenseless. Just as the demon is about to drag her back to the cage, Elena clings tightly to a pillar in front of her. Waking up, the woman has successfully become pregnant. But after only 2 days, Elena's belly shows signs that she's about to give birth. Seeing this, Paco hurries to find a doctor. After many hours of effort, the doctor pulls out a fleshy orb from Elena's belly, and this orb has long, spider-like legs growing out of it. "Paco, I'm not allowing you in my house anymore. This is my house." The spider monster, hiding under the table, soon becomes still. The next day, the doctor calls over some friends, all of whom are renowned professors in the medical field. Regarding this fleshy orb with spider legs, the professors are all eager to figure out what kind of creature it is. But when they work together to peel off the layer of fat on it, the seemingly dead spider monster suddenly springs back to life. It leaps straight onto Elena. Seeing this, Paco grabs a pen and stabs it, then stomps on it. Calming down, Paco discovers a key inside the spider monster. The design on it seems to represent a specific place. After some investigation, they find out it's the symbol of an academy. The two immediately take the key there. They quickly get inside through a shelf on the side. Arriving at the library, the two start searching for anything related to the key. But strangely, there are small rails built here. They follow the rails to the deepest part, where Elena discovers a hidden door. Behind the door is a narrow tunnel. Going through the tunnel, they find a box locked with iron chains. When Elena uses the key to unlock the mechanism on the box, an ancient book rises from within. This is the very book the priest mentioned. Just as the two were wondering what it was for, a metallic clang rang out from behind. "Run, quickly! Get over here!" After just dealing with the giant robot in front of them, a mechanical bird appeared on the other side. Although its speed far exceeded the previous robot, this thing was still a bit slow when turning. Elena sees the opportunity to push a bookshelf, crushing it underneath. But when they successfully escaped the academy, a strange group of people appeared outside. They demanded the book in Elena's hands. The two flee to a nearby train station. There, they see a homeless person lying on the tracks, pretending to be injured. The kind-hearted Elena rushes over to help, but unexpectedly, the homeless person seizes the chance to steal the book from her. But before he can even reach the opposite platform, a swarm of trains comes barreling through, crushing him. When Elena and Paco catch up, the dying homeless man is still clutching the book. "This is mine, let go. This is my book, let go of it." The old woman chops off a goat's head, drains its blood, and pours the blood into a coffin filled with maggots. Those things that sleep beneath the earth return. Those dead without life revive. Soon, the two corpses inside come back to life. But because they've been dead for a year, their flesh is long since decayed, leaving them disfigured. To avoid attracting attention, the witch leads the two to a dressing room. When they saw their faces in the mirror, they were heartbroken. Their skin was rotting like zombies. Fabio found an expired jar of powder on the table, and then the two took up brushes, as if they were painting a wall, fixing their ruined faces bit by bit. After changing into clean clothes, the two prepared to start wandering the human world. The reason they've been revived is all because of the death of Priest Lombardi. One day earlier, Elena and Paco brought the book to a church. There, they met Lombardi, a friend of the priest. But just as Elena was about to hand over the book, Paco noticed something was off about these people and quickly stopped Elena. However, they didn't know that the Lombardi in front of them was just a puppet. The real mastermind was on a yacht thousands of miles away, using clay figures, and he was sitting at a table controlling puppets, talking to two people. Elena, suspicious, asks a question. She wants Lombardi to say a few things about the priest. But just as Pablo is controlling the puppet, speaking nonstop, an important meeting requires his personal attendance. So, Pablo hands over control of the puppet to his subordinate. But this guy is completely unfamiliar with Elena. After just a few sentences, a slip-up is detected. The subordinate, seeing this, quickly equips the clay figure with a gun, threatening the two to hand over the book. However, due to being overly tense, the subordinate accidentally breaks the clay figure's arm, and at the same time, Lombardi's arm also breaks off. Paco seizes a chance, rushes forward, grabs him by the collar, and forcefully throws him down from the upper floor. The dying Lombardi turns blue, his entire body shattering like a clay figure. Afterward, Elena and Paco go to a cafe to rest. Unexpectedly, they meet the real Lombardi there. You're Lombardi, right? You're Elena, right? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Lombardi leads the two into the church. Elena hands him the book, but as soon as it's opened, all three turn away because the book contains a powerful force. Looking directly at its contents will blind you. Lombardi holds a mirror over his head. From the reflected content, they learn that this book records a powerful incantation that can summon the eye of God and restart the world. Because the writing is all in the ancient Ike dialect, Lombardi can only understand a small part of it. But he knows that to fully decipher this ancient text, one must gather all 30 silver coins. The power of the coins can resist the book's backlash. Now, the coins have all fallen into Pablo's hands, and he will soon hold a mysterious ritual in Peru. Lombardi wants the two to first join him in stopping it all. But just as they step out of the church, Lombardi suddenly has an ominous feeling. A bolt of lightning strikes the tree next to them, causing a branch to fall and sever a power line in front. Priest, are you okay? The episode ends here. There are other parts of the series that follow. Thank you for joining me through all the emotional ups and downs of this epic saga. It's a story full of surprises, suspense, and non-stop thrills, promising even more excitement in the seasons to come. If you were as captivated as I was, don't forget to leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe to the channel so we can discover more amazing shows together. See you on our next adventures.